Good evening and welcome to the October 29th, 2024 meeting of the Spackenkill Union Free School District Board of Education. The board will take a vote to go directly into executive session for the purpose of discussing matters relating to the employment history of a particular person. It is anticipated that the board will reconvene the regular meeting at approximately 6:30 p.m. We have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. We'll see you shortly. Okay, welcome back to our October 29th, 2024 meeting of the Spackenkill Union Free School District Board of Education. I'd ask you to rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 4.01 is public comments on consent agenda items. Do we have any public comment on consent agenda items? Thank you, sir. Any board discussion on any items on the consent agenda that we would pull? Or? Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to accept the consent agenda less items 6.01 and 6.02. I have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 5-0. Item 6.01 was a meeting that I was not at, so I'm going to have an individual vote on the meeting minutes for 6.01. So I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and I have to abstain, so it's 4-0-1. Item 6.02 is meeting minutes as well. Do I have a motion to accept those?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3, aye. Do we have any abstentions? Abstention for Sasha and Joanne. So
Joanne.
3-0-2. Okay. So that brings us to, let's see, we get item 14.01, facilities repair proposal, our business administrator and our director of facilities and operations.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take it. We'll do the clicking ourselves.
Okay.
Good evening, all. Thanks for having me. So, it's been about a year since I've been here now. And in my time here, there have been several items that sort of emerged as necessary to repair, but are just kind of a little too large to undertake using just the general fund. So with the input of some of the administration, Val and I have come up with a list of items we'd like to address using funds from the repair reserve. That's the laser pointer. There it is. So some of these items include baseball and softball fields, tennis court repairs, fencing at multiple buildings, exterior stairs here at Todd, outdoor classroom here at Todd, and some courtyard railings at the high school. Our baseball and softball fields. So our grounds crew do a pretty good job in maintaining these fields, but over time it sort of becomes inevitable that larger repairs need to be made. So in order to revitalize the baseball and softball fields, we'd like to do some of the following. We'd like to remove some of the overgrown vegetation, re-edge the infields, remove some of that old clay, bring in some nice new fluffy, pretty clay, rebuild the pitching mound and batter boxes, top dress and seed the infield turf here at the baseball fields, build and upgrade and kind of relocate the bullpens at the baseball field, and there is some consideration of turf being placed in the batter's boxes. Our tennis courts. So it seems it's been quite some time since the tennis courts have had the attention that it needs. Again, we try to clear like water laying around in the low spots and maintain its surface the best we can. However, it's time for some larger scale work. That looks like pressure washing to remove all the dirt, level and fill low spots and bird baths as they call it, fix upheaving around the net posts, refinish the base colors, and then add the new striping back. Fencing. So here at Todd, we like to remove a fallen wooden damaged fence here and replace it with a nice new PVC fence. At Nassau, we'd like to remove some damaged posts, rails, and fencing, and replace them with new. We'd like to do the same as at Hagen, as well as add some barrier arm gates to control the traffic there. So concrete work. Here at Todd, we've identified some safety and functionality issues. So 2 sets of concrete stairs really need to be demolished and replaced, as well as a new concrete pad being installed at our new dumpster location. Todd's outdoor classroom. So we have this beautiful, great space outside to be used as a possible outdoor classroom, but the structure could use some aesthetic upgrades, some slight structural upgrades. So we do plan to repair that structure, sandblast, and paint the entire structure and make it more inviting for that use. The high school courtyard railing. So last year, a beautiful courtyard was installed at the high school, but in order for it to be safely utilized by the students, we need to install railings here at the walls and also at the staircase. And I will thank you very much and turn it over to Val.
As Mr. D'Amato has indicated, there are several areas that were identified that need significant work. So in consideration of that, we've obtained multiple quotes from vendors, all of which are on state contract. And we will present an estimated overall cost, which are based on the lowest quotes that we obtained. And for the timing of the work, because it's mostly, all of it is outside work, the timing and scheduling of that work is going to be dependent on the weather and temperature. The total estimated cost is a little under $300,000, with what Anthony described for the softball and football fields. We're talking $94,370. To resurface the tennis courts, $66,102. The fencing at the 3 schools is $14,550. The concrete work at Todd is $56,609. The outdoor classroom, $44,620. And to install the rails at the high school courtyard is $22,000, giving us a total, based on these estimates, of $298,251. Our proposal to pay for this is, as you may recall, we established a repair reserve back in 2022. At that time, the maximum balance that was authorized was $750,000 for that reserve. That reserve has been funded over the years of 2022, 2023, and 2024. The requirement to use that reserve is it has to be for non-recurring repairs. So not annual maintenance or new structures. It has to be a non-recurring repair for an existing capital improvement or capital equipment. In order to be able to use the funds from that reserve, we have to present the proposed repairs to the Board of Education, which is tonight's presentation. We are also required to hold a public hearing on the proposed repairs, and we would like to do that at the November board meeting. At that time, after the public hearing, we will be asking the board to vote to authorize the expenditure from that repair reserve. If the board does grant us that authorization, we will contact the vendors and contractors that have given us the quotes, sign contracts locking in those prices, and try to develop a work schedule. Again, because most of this is outside work, most of it probably won't start until spring of 2025. And Anthony and I will be happy to answer any questions.
The fencing at Nassau, isn't that relatively new? Didn't we just redo the parking lot and they
Yes,
put
we
in?
did.
And that needs to be repaired already?
It needs to be repaired.
Okay. The damage there, was that our own doing or was it somebody else's?
It was probably a combination of things between snow plowing over the winter and other damage that was probably caused. Some of it may have even been with some of the repaving work where they had to remove parts of it, then had to replace it.
Okay. I assume that we won't have to repair the fences every year if we're
No.
removing snow every year? Okay.
Yeah, we have new snowplow equipment that would be.
I was really just hoping that somebody else was responsible for
Oh,
the fences, that their insurance would be taking care of it. They
No, I-
got brand new fences.
Unfortunately, no, there wasn't anyone who ran into the fences, but we could get some insurance.
Okay. The baseball field, or fields and the softball fields, if it's a capital improvement project is what we're calling it. Have we looked into what it would cost to do turf on those fields instead of, we're putting $100,000 towards the repair of it? What's the difference of,
That's
you
gonna
ever
be a significant difference.
turfing the infield of, I know an entire field is a lot, but we've looked into it on a town basis of just an infield at them, come into pretty close to around that number, $150,000, $200,000 for a turf infield versus an entire turf field if you're doing it in phases. You know, do the infield one year and outfield another year, but also allows for it to be used in poor weather conditions, where most of our spring seasons have been rained out because of the, and if it's a multi-use field, you know, you could have other sports playing on there as well, or at least practicing on there, regardless of the weather. If we're putting that much towards repairs on it, I'd be interested to see what a turf option may be.
Sure. So I'll get some numbers and look into that and see if it's a feasible option for us here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in between it, wouldn't have to paint them all the time or put lines down, wouldn't have to put your manpower towards that each, you know.
We've also,
Stay
I've
with it.
seen just the infield done and the
Yeah.
outfield, because you could
Yep.
keep the outfield
Just grass,
a little
yep.
bit easier. And it's our infield that's usually the issue.
Yeah.
So that's a good idea.
Yeah,
I think you can
absolutely.
also use it as a softball field at that point too, because you can have a movable mound. So you could have the mound pulled in, be able to make it a softball field on certain events or championships or whatever you may want.
Sure, we'll get some numbers.
I'd like you to loop Marco into that too, into that discussion.
We'll do.
Thank you.
Got it.
The other question kind of along those lines, I mean, if the decision is to stay with grass and dirt as we have it now, would there be a plan to kind of try to maintain the condition of the field a little bit more consistently, you know, over the years? I mean, you drive around a lot of schools and, you know, even if it's the middle of, you know, the fall or early spring, I mean, they still look playable. I mean, and that cuts down your maintenance cost if you can keep it, you know, and so forth. I mean, that's been an issue.
Anthony, I'll take this. So when Anthony was hired,
Yeah.
that was one of the things that we discussed on our walkthrough, and he even brought it up
Yeah,
himself.
I can see it smiling.
But he had said he needed to get to a spot to then be able to do
Right.
that. And I think this is the
Yeah.
creation of that spot. Anthony, would that be correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. It just stands to reason. You know. Yeah, that makes sense.
He noticed the same thing it was just in the interview process. It was like the first time we were walking around, and he noticed that
Yeah,
right off the bat.
it's just. And then for the tennis facility, is the plans that you sketched out, would that involve resurfacing the whole area?
Yeah.
You said fix the low levels and so forth, but I assume that would then entail a new paving or
So-
whatever. Tennis courts are not quite the same as asphalt,
So I
You
think
see on
the
the streets.
underlayment might be asphalt and then they put
Yeah.
coatings on top.
Rather coatings on top, it's
Yeah,
smoother.
so I'll look further into it, whether it's just that top coating that has to kind of be replaced and leveled.
Right.
I don't believe it's another, like a top coat of asphalt that goes over it and
Right.
then
Yeah, I know
resurface that
some
way.
other, it's because it's smoother than regular
Sure.
asphalt on tennis courts, I know that.
Yeah, I talked to Marco about it, it needs to be resurfaced, it's probably needs to be resurfaced already.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Kind of waiting
Ever
for,
since-
for.
I can't ever
to
remember
put
it in
everything
the
together.
25 years that my
Yeah.
kids have, since my kids have been here, I can't ever remember it being done.
With the steps at Todd, does there need to also be ADA compliant ramps?
So, not in those specific location. Over the summer, we did install a number of ADA compliant ramps around the building. There are some that already exist, but we also installed 3 more, one coming out of the cafeteria, one of the art wing, and one around back. So that is quite sufficient as far as, in addition to what we already have, I think that's sufficient for the ADA ramps in those locations.
And the reserve fund is fully funded at this point to the 750,000 max already?
Not
Or-
quite, it's about 700,000 that's in there now. Fortunately, in addition to the money that I've been able to appropriate at the end of the school year, I've invested it to the point where it was getting 5% a year. So since the fund was established, over $50,000 in interest was earned on that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we got.
And that's why we wanted to establish, that's part of the reason of establishing the reserve. Go out.
Anyone else? All right, so procedure, you had mentioned the public hearing, so I think, do we go ahead and have that public hearing at this point then?
That was my
With
question to the board.
with questions that Jeff posed particularly, because I guess that would be one that might require a little more extra time to look into at least.
I think we
for
could
consideration.
get in a month or a couple, what is it, 2 weeks for the next meeting?
No, the next weekend
It's
is.
not till the 19th.
Not some, next weekend is November 19th, and then.
We can have answers for you by then.
Okay, yeah.
And we also have one meeting.
But the hearing will not be the next meeting, is what he's saying. We're just gonna have answers to the questions.
Or, you know, time-wise, how does this work out? Are you looking to, you know,
Can we have the
we
hearing?
talked about weather dependent.
Yes.
Was some of that weather dependent, you know, we've seen a lot of mild winters recently where this type of work can continue. And then, you know, maybe the fields are ready for spring even.
I think it's
So-
even if we have the public hearing at our December meeting, we can have all the pieces in place in January, so if we get an early spring in like March, we'd still be ready to go.
Okay, so it doesn't
It doesn't have to be.
mess up the timeline that
No.
is in your head at this point?
No, it does not.
Okay.
We have our plan. Bring back information next meeting, and then hopefully, we'll see if the board wants to have the hearing in the meeting after.
Excellent.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 14.02, our secondary administration update.
Who's going first? Draw straws? You're looking at each other.
I think it's Steve. No?
Go in
Let's
order?
look at-
We'll go in great order?
Yeah, my presentation will help Steve prepare for this. Good evening, everybody, and thank you as always for having us. And tonight, I thought I'd share about a new feature that we added to the Positivity Project this year, which is Mindfulness Mondays. Is this, we're good? Okay. So we had decided, as you know, the Positivity Project, we do daily from 10:06 to 10:18 every day. It's 12 minutes. And we've been doing it now for 2.5 years, and we found over the last year that we were looking to add something more because we thought that the amount of, because right now we were doing 4 days of P2 plus a virtual P2 day. And we're looking to do more like 3 was like a good number, because what we do is we do a different trait a week. And, after the 3rd day, whether it's, whatever the trait is, creativity or love, we found that 3 days seemed to be better. Like by the 4th day, students were, they'd heard, 3 days of it. So we were looking to add something. And we decided to look into mindfulness, because we know we've done some mindfulness during P2 over the last couple of years, and it's gone over really well. So we looked over the summer into some training, and Michelle Egging, who has worked with both elementary schools, she's a local mindfulness teacher, came in and she did 2 hours of training with 14 staff members, including myself, in September to work on, and what we did was during the professional development, we went over different lessons we can do, and she kind of mapped it out for us, and it went really well. We had our first Mindfulness Monday on October 7th, and right now we have them through January 13th. The Positivity Project goes until early April, goes through the first 3 quarters. So we'll create more lessons after January, but we have the lessons that we've been doing, and how we do that is we do that virtually, like we do the Fridays, where we have different presenters do it for the whole school. So basically, we are having, between the staff and the students, 400 plus people do whatever we're doing. And I cleared this with Dr. Fanueli. I said, well, the best way to explain it is for us to maybe do a little. So I'll do a little bit of the mindfulness that we do. We'll all do it together. What we do is there's kind of 2 parts. One part is called shake and settle. So that's just to kind of get everybody in the room, because I know many of you have middle school students, that they can be a little restless and a little wound up. So the shake and settle is just a way to just kind of just get in the room. And then we have different mindfulness lessons. Like so far, the first 3 we've done so far is an introduction to mindfulness, and we've done the science of mindful breathing, and we did how Monday, yesterday, we did how mindfulness impacts the brain. So we do different things. So I thought that if you'll engage me, so basically, we would come on the screen and we, say, all right, everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to do our shake and settle. So you guys can do what I do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called shoulder shrugs. So what we'll do is, and you just follow me. It's very simple. So what you're going to do is you're just going to raise your shoulders. Yeah, there you go. And then you're just going to let them go. Steve, you with me?
I did it.
Steve's doing it. I got to turn around.
You did it.
Do it again.
Did it once.
And down. You just kind of let them drop up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to bring our breath in. So we're going to, and when we lift our shoulders time, we're going to inhale, and we're going to hold it, and then we'll let it down. So inhale and lift. Now exhale and let go. Let's do another one of those. Inhale and lift. Now let it go. We'll do one more. And let it go. Now it's a shake and settle, so you're kind of a little more in the room. And then we would go into one of our lessons, and we talk a little more. We'll explain that, you don't have to close your eyes, but you can if you want, like if you're comfortable, or you can just kind of dim down a little bit. And what I thought we would do is a little bit of mindful breathing. So, and this is one that we did last week. And we taught them how to do some balloon belly breathing. And just to give you a little taste of what we say, so we say, why this is helpful to you. So we talk about that it helps with focus and awareness. Helps you by oxygenating your body. It helps you by reducing inflammation. It helps you by calming the nervous system. And we go into it a little more, but those are the kinds of things that we'll explain, because mindfulness for some people, you might not know, kind of the scientific benefits of it. And so we go into that, because that's what mindfulness really does. It helps you just kind of relax. Like I'm a little more relaxed than I was at the start of this. So we did a thing called balloon breathing. And so I'm looking at, the instructions that we go over. So anybody can kind of do it. We also gave copies of this to all the staff because they can do it anytime they want. So just sit comfortably with your back straight and your shoulders relaxed. Again, you can close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or you can just gaze downward if that feels comfortable. And imagine your belly is a balloon. As you breathe through your nose, feel the belly expand like a balloon, and we're going to count to 4 as we inhale. So, and put your hands on your belly and feel the balloon get bigger. So breathe down into your belly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2. And then slowly exhale through your mouth. And you can also make it like you're inflating a balloon as you blow out. So we'll do that again. So we're going to breathe in, make a balloon with your belly. Hold, and exhale through your mouth. Let's do another one of those through the nose, hands on belly, fill the balloon. Hold, and exhale. So we'll do this, for a couple of, we might do, for something like that, we might do, say, 6 counts. And then we'll do a closing reflection. So it could be a wrap up, this is what we read. Intentional breathing helps keep your body healthy and helps you maintain stress by signaling to your body that it is safe. And then it says, and then we encourage you to use this technique anytime you want to calm down or refocus. So you can kind of belly breathe anytime. Because a lot of people think that mindfulness is like something like you go sit and do. But mindfulness is just being aware at the present moment of what's going on. And doing these breathing techniques helps you just kind of become present. So we encourage the students to try to use these. And over time, we're hoping we get teachers to continue to talk about it so they can use these techniques. Because believe it or not, being mindful can turn, like an 82 on an exam into an 88 or a 92. I mean, it really, because it does really, it really helps your mind thinking. So I thought that would be good to do to experience a little bit of what it's like. And like I said, we're doing that every Monday, hopefully for the remainder of our P2 for this year. And hopefully everybody's blissed out. And I will take any questions.
I've got a question. So when did we start P2? Like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, right before COVID started? P2 is...
It was after COVID. It was probably 2021
okay.
with the elementary school.
We started in the year 20, yeah, that sounds right. September 2021, and we started January 2022.
Yes, that's probably accurate.
So all the students in your school at this point have had like 3 or 4 years of P2?
Yes.
Because they started in elementary school.
Yes, everybody, yes.
Have you seen or found that there's a noticeable difference of having this in the past with the 3-4 years of kids experiencing this versus prior to having this? Are you seeing a noticeable difference?
Yeah, so I would say that I have. I think one of the main principles of P2 is connecting. And I feel that the students are just continue to get more connected to each other and to the staff, And I think that because it's about personal relationships, and I've seen that grow over these years. I also find that since we have a common understanding of kind of how you can be, right, in the best way, we can have conversations about that. So it isn't kind of this thing where, it could sound like I'm imposing my thoughts about what it means to be good, right? So now we all kind of have an understanding. Now that being said, of course, there's so many other factors that go into what it's like, say, for school culture. But I have found, I think it has definitely supported our positive school culture. I also think that it's had a good effect on, good meaning positive with staff too. because they get to really connect with students in ways that you wouldn't usually. You know, just to give you a quick example, I was in a P2 class today, and we were talking about, this week is other people mindset, how our actions and words affect others. And the video was about somebody, a young child who's doing a recycling program, but it talked about lots of other things, like that only 2% of what is recyclable in the world gets recycled, or that by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. So kind of it opens up conversations to lots of other things about how our words and actions affect the planet, you know, not just each other. So that's another piece of P2. There's a lot of other learning that's going on, because P2 is not really, wasn't created as a behavior modification program. Right? It's not PBIS.
Right.
That's not what it's created for. So it's doing a lot of other things. But there is an expectation, and a good expectation, that you would also see a modified, behaviors would be better. And we do see that as well. But it's very hard to kind of give you, say, hard data on that.
Dan and Jeff and anyone, what we discussed this weekend,
Yeah.
was right along that. So, and Dan didn't say it, but he referred to it. It gives us a common language, and that common language is used, by the staff and the students, across the district. And that's really been very beneficial, because we do it in each building, so it really kind of, pulls us together. And what I often say is, P2 isn't our program. P2 is maybe just the backbone, and we do so much around it. So then you add AVID, right? So Dan has done a tremendous job with AVID, and now AVID students go to elementary schools and talk to, younger kids about P2 traits.
Mhm.
We have mentors from the high school coming down talking about P2 traits. So that common language and that linkage has just enabled us to expand it into something that it isn't just like in the canned curriculum. And then you throw something like reading, like the book vending machines at the elementary school, where kids are excited to get a book.
Right.
Right, and that's not necessarily P2, but you align it all together. I like to use that word, you heard me use it before. We're trying to align things around it to just expand upon it to make it just so much better. And P2 has allowed us, because it's given us kind of that framework to then align things to it and keep adding something new. And I know, the principals are looking, to add to it. Look at Mindfulness Mondays, right? That's not part of P2, but it's aligned to it. We had the structure, and that makes it even better. So that was the hope, to kind of get it in, but then get it in such a manner that we could grow around it and not just depend upon P2, but have all the other things. What else have we talked about? We do the painting of the murals,
Mhm.
right? Now that's related, right? And then the kids come in and see that. Now that's not part of P2, right? But it just kind of engulfs your district in positivity and in culture and in character strengths. What's better than that?
Right. Great.
I'm glad you asked that question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And just add in, because Steve might not know this, not to take his thunder, but this Friday, we're going to have we do our AVID kids go down and do the P2 assemblies at the two elementary schools. And we have our middle schoolers going, but we're also swinging by the high school, and we're going to have some, because now we have an AVID, which Steve's going to talk about. We have our first cohort in the high school, but we've got some of them are going to come down with the middle schoolers to the elementary schools on Friday to talk about P2. So you're going to have, a kindergartner, being taught by a ninth grader about positivity, which is kind of cool. So, thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Steve, you all chill and ready? See, look at that smile. See, mindfulness works.
Nice and
Oh boy,
calm,
we've
ready
come
to
a
go.
long way. I remember in junior high school, like the first time at the dinner table, there was no such thing as anxiety or depression, but stress. And my dad thought I was, and said he'd be right back, went to the bedroom and threw me one of his packs of Marlboro Lights. So, I guess mindfulness is way better. Yeah.
Things have changed, but you're not.
Love my dad, man. So, I am gonna talk about Avid. It's brief, we're not far into the school year, but I do think that the board would appreciate kind of an update as we have our first cohort coming up to us now in 9th grade. So, in middle school, it was 7th and 8th grade. Now they're up with us in 9th grade. We have all of the students that were in that cohort, 18 in total. So what they do is at the high school, they meet 4th period. They meet every other day. At the high school, they are awarded half a credit, an elective credit at the high school for being an Avid. And one of our newer math teachers, Mrs. Gateson, I'm sure the board knows her, was one of the people from the high school that got trained this summer in Baltimore, and she is the Avid teacher now at the high school. We have our Avid high school site team up and running. The members of that are an English teacher, Randy Calderon. He was also trained this summer. Adam Hammond, one of our guidance counselors, also was involved in training this summer. Obviously, Mrs. Gateson, Mr. Lewis, and Dan is the district coordinator for Avid, so he's part of that. And they meet once a month. So what kinds of things are currently happening in that class and what's up and coming shortly? So their first college visit is scheduled for the 18th of November. They're going to be going to New Paltz. The goal is to get 3 of those visits in during the course of this year. They are talking about in class about college and finding a match school or a reach school or a safety school and what those kind of terms mean and what that strategy is all about. And all the students have been signed up on College Board as part of the class. Obviously, the teacher talks with the students to find out what they might be interested in down the road. Obviously, they're young and might not know, but things like architecture came up and law enforcement, and we're having guest speakers that'll be coming in to talk to the students about what careers look like for that and kind of what the college prep and that sort of thing looks like to lead up to that type of a job. There is certainly a big transition for all students, Avid or anybody else, transitioning from Todd to the high school, or any kid going from middle school to high school. So they do talk about, good behaviors and, ways to maintain their grades, they're talking a lot and practicing a lot with note-taking skills. That's something that we notice that our younger students coming up sometimes struggle with. There's a lot more information that they have to capture. They have spreadsheets where they're able to keep and monitor progress in all of their classes. And I think something that's very important, because this is new to the high school, brand new to the teacher, that's teaching it, is that we stay in touch with Todd. And just some examples of how we're doing that. Board knows that on the 5th we have a conference day. That's going to be part of their conference day, Todd and Todd and the high school working together. Obviously, Dan being part of the site team is huge. And then the teachers still connect on a regular basis. For instance, Jonathan Shanks, who's the main teacher, who started here at the middle school, he did a lesson today at the high school. So why is that great? Because he stays in touch with the kids. The kids love him, but Gateson also gets a model of how he handles a class. So, it's worked out very well so far. So that's basically, where we are with the program at this point at the high school. Any questions for me about any of that? Or Dan, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you did a nice job, Steve. I think
Yeah.
you covered it, yeah.
Okay.
Because he was relaxed.
Yeah,
was.
I'm amazingly
Relaxed.
relaxed. For some reason, I'm
We're
craving
gonna,
a cigarette.
we'll
No.
split some cigarettes there.
Yeah. All right, thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. Okay, item 15.01 is public comment on non-agenda items. Any public comment on non-agenda items? Okay, 15.02, the board did receive correspondence. It was about the Todd Middle School breakfast, which was directed to and addressed by Principal Doherty. So item 16.01 is comments from the board.
I've got a comment, just to follow up. Sorry, I didn't just click on it. A follow-up regarding the NISBA business meeting where the resolutions were voted on, discussed and voted on. This was back on the 11th of October. So I think we've all probably received a report from NISBA that summarized the resolutions, but just the quick summary of it is that 26 resolutions were passed. Just so that everyone is clear, these resolutions are advocacy resolutions, so they determine the issues that NISBA will be advocating for on behalf of school districts and the membership of NISBA as a whole in their lobbying efforts going forward with state ed. And just a couple of the quick highlights, I don't need to go into too much detail probably, but resolutions that might have been of special interest for us in our district here. The resolution regarding the civil service exam, and we talked about that. The revision of the civil service exam, that passed 100% rate, so that was a strong pass. There was a resolution to consider hybrid bus options, or hybrid buses as an option to the electric buses. That resolution passed. There was a resolution involving smartphone basically the resolution that would have funded or advocated for funding of a study for smartphone regulations of smartphones in districts. That passed strongly as well. A resolution regarding pre-K, yes, that would have provided for preferential enrollment if a district wasn't able to fully fund pre-K. There would be a preferential option for lower income students and students with special needs. So that passed as well. So those were a couple of the highlights, but I was happy to participate in the meeting. A little bit shorter this year. It was only 5 hours and 41 minutes rather than 7 hours. Started at 4 p.m. and ended at 9:41. But went a little more smoothly. There was a little less discussion, but was happy to represent the district.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you
Yes,
for doing
thank
that.
you.
Appreciate that. Anyone else? I guess I'll just note the item 12.05, the district, we accepted a donation which was raised during the Spackenkill 1974 and 1975 class reunion. Over $16,000, which will be used by the High School Drama Club for lighting and other production equipment, which is amazing. And we talk about culture and community here at Spackenkill. And there's a class from 50 years ago that was sitting here trying to help out the current students, and we're very grateful for that and appreciative for that. The other thing I guess I'll say, everybody do mindful breathing next Wednesday morning. There'll be a president-elect. Calm down, we're all gonna be fine. Move on. That's it for me. 16.02, comments from our superintendent.
Thank you for bringing up the reunion. We actually had, the reunion of the first graduating class of high school, and we definitely captured a lot of their thoughts. So when we celebrate the 160th anniversary of our district, it was like a perfect place to hear from some of our veteran alumni, if you will. So that went really well. I want to talk a little bit about something that we had a presentation a year ago on the possibility of New York State Department of Transportation putting sidewalks in on Spackenkill Road. It seemed very favorable at the time. It did not pass for this particular round, but the info we got was that it was well received, and I think just the funding wasn't as much as I thought it would be. and it's gonna be back on the list next year, so we have hope. You know, our local, the town felt that the project was well received, so we're just hoping that'll, it'll be different, you know, next go around. So definitely wanted to say that. This week is very busy at the secondary level. Most of our sports teams are entering into sectional play. I think it actually started already. I know we got a game tomorrow. We got a girls' soccer game tomorrow. We got a boys' soccer game Thursday. We got a football game on Friday. And I think we have other sports going on too. Our tennis team is active. So, you know, we wish them well, and you know, we've done well in the past, so we'll definitely hope for that. And the high school play is also this weekend. Ready for that, Mr. Malkisher?
We're ready for that.
What is the play?
Steel Magnolias. Yep.
It's one of your favorite movies, isn't it, Mr. Malkisher?
Made me laugh and made me cry. I don't know, that's what they say.
So my final comment is, last board meeting, we discussed the fact that it was school board recognition week, but we were minus a couple board members, so we didn't really celebrate it. So I want to bring it up again and thank our school board for everything they do, and read something from here that boards of education guide their local school systems and ensure public schools are flexible and responsive to the needs of the community. And they are comprised of volunteers. I'd like to reinforce that every meeting we have and executive sessions and all that stuff is on their own time. So we definitely want to thank our board. You know, we love working with you. And at the close of the meeting, we do have some goodies. We want to call it our favorite, what are they called again? Nothing but bunts?
Change that up a little bit.
Change it up a little bit. Oh, we want the board to like us, so hope it's, so we definitely want to thank the board, and if you could hang out for a few minutes after the meeting, we'll at least have some goodies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
Thank you very much. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes 5-0. We'll see you next time.